Chapter 2. Silence Isn't Empty. Aiden didn't sleep the night after the first session. He told himself it was because he was angry. At his parents, at that message, at the whole situation. But if anger were the real reason, he would have fallen asleep eventually. Instead, his mind kept replaying the soft rhythm of Dr. Elias Hart's voice. Not the words. Not the conversation. Just the calmness. The steady presence. It irritated him beyond reason. No one had ever made silence feel comfortable. By the time the second session rolled around, Aiden had convinced himself that it didn't matter. He would sit there, say nothing, and leave. That was the plan. He stuck to it for exactly 30 seconds. The office looked the same as before. Warm lighting, quiet shelves, and the stubbornly thriving plant. But Elias seemed different. Or maybe Aiden was just seeing him differently. He noticed things he hadn't before. The way Elias's sleeves were slightly rolled up, revealing strong but at the same time gentle-looking forearms. The faint shadow of stubble he hadn't shaved that morning. The small fresh scratch on one knuckle, probably a paper cut. Ridiculous details, but Aiden's eyes kept drifting back to them. "Good to see you again," Elias said, closing the door behind Aiden. Aiden scoffed lightly. "You say that like I chose to be here." Elias sat in his chair, unbothered. "Choice or not, your presence matters." Aiden felt something twist in his chest and immediately crushed it. The session began much like the first. It was quiet, patient, slow. Elias waited. Aiden avoided eye contact. Minutes passed. Aiden tapped his foot. Then he stopped, annoyed with himself. Then he tapped again. Elias eventually spoke, voice low and steady. "You don't have to talk about anything you don't want to. But I would like to get to know you," Aiden snorted. "Why? So you can diagnose me with something I don't have?" Elias's lips twitched. "Actually, from what I've seen so far, you're not someone who fits neatly into any diagnosis." Aiden frowned. "Is that supposed to be comforting?" "It's meant to be truthful." Aiden shifted in his chair, suddenly restless. "So, what? You're not going to ask if I feel ashamed? Or confused? Or... I don't know. Whatever you people usually ask. I'm not here to judge you," Elias said softly. "Or to change you," Aiden's breath hitched. Because that sentence, that simple sentence, was exactly what he'd needed his parents to say. And at the same time, exactly what he feared most. He wasn't ready for kindness. He didn't know what to do with it. Aiden looked down at his hands. "I don't really talk about things. Ever. You don't have to start big," Elias said. "We can start with something simple." Aiden arched a skeptical eyebrow. "Simple, yes," Elias said. "For example, tell me one thing you like." Aiden blinked. "That's therapy?" Elias smiled, small and soft. "It's a beginning." Aiden opened his mouth, then closed it. He had no idea what he liked. Or maybe he just forgot how to say it aloud. He picked at a loose thread on his sleeve. "I like the rain," he muttered reluctantly. "It makes everything quieter." Elias nodded. "That's beautiful." Aiden almost choked. "It's rain, not poetry." "It's still something you feel," Elias said. "And that matters." Aiden looked away quickly, cheeks warming for reasons he refused to examine. He tried to change the subject. "So, what do you like?" Elias blinked, clearly not expecting the question. "I like..." He hesitated. "Books. And music. And making tea." Aiden raised a brow. "Making tea?" Elias shrugged gently. "It's a small ritual. It calms me." Aiden studied him for a moment. The relaxed posture, the honesty. It made Elias seem human in a way Aiden didn't expect. "So that's it?" Aiden said abruptly. "This is what therapy is. Talking about the weather and tea?" Elias chuckled softly, a sound that hit Aiden straight in the chest. Therapy, he said, is connection. And right now, we're beginning one. Aiden's pulse jumped. He told himself it was annoyance. It wasn't. Silence fell again, but this time the silence felt full, almost warm. After a moment, Elias leaned slightly forward. Aiden, can I ask you something? Aiden stiffened. There it was. The real question. The one about being gay. The one about shame and guilt and sin and. Do you feel safe here? Elias asked gently. Aiden's mind blanked. Of all the questions he expected, that was not one of them. He swallowed hard. Why does that matter? It matters because you deserve to feel safe somewhere, Elias said. At least in this room, Aiden inhaled sharply. He didn't realize his hands were trembling until he felt his nails digging into his palms. I don't know, he whispered. It's all right not to know. Elias's voice felt like a hand reaching toward him. Not touching, but steady, patient. It scared Aiden more than anything. When the session ended, Elias stood and walked him to the door. If you ever feel overwhelmed, he said, you can tell me. Or we can slow down. Or sit in silence again. Aiden nodded stiffly. He didn't trust himself to speak. But as he reached for the door handle, he glanced back. Elias was watching him, with kindness, with sincerity, with a quiet understanding that made Aiden's chest ache. See you next time, Aiden, Elias said. Aiden left without responding. But halfway down the hallway, he stopped, leaned against the wall, and exhaled shakily. He didn't know if he felt safe. But it feels like he is looking forward to the next session. This concludes Chapter 2 of Forbidden Therapy. The walls Aiden built so carefully are beginning to crack. And Elias is starting to notice. What began as a therapy session is becoming something deeper, something neither of them is prepared to face. Thank you for listening. If you don't want to miss Chapter 3, make sure to subscribe my channel. See you next time.